Hello, everybody, and for whatever time you guys are tuning into this, I would like to say good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, and welcome to our online presentation on the global knowledge economy, aka a summary presentation on Chapter 8. My name is Ravneesh, and I will be presenting alongside Amir. I wanted to start off by saying that both Amir and I wanted to diversify our presentations from the notes for Chapter 8 because since this is an online presentation, we wanted to keep everyone engaged. So not everything that we will be talking about will actually be on our slides, but it will definitely be on our notes provided to you, and a transcript of the audio will be within the speaker notes of this presentation. Thank you for your cooperation, and Amir will begin to start us off.
Today we will be discussing about the idea of global knowledge economy, from what is the term and where it comes from originally. Global knowledge economy comes originally from the term knowledge economy, which is an economy that is characterized by really depending on the internal parts along with other parts like trade, creation of knowledge, exporting, and distributing. The knowledge economy may be really important in this chapter, but rather we are focusing on that term from a global perspective with the help of globalization, which is why the whole chapter is on the term global knowledge economy. Globalization is also important from this complexity, along with why the developments that come from globalization get criticized very often. This helps us understand why globalization is part of an overall knowledge economy. Next, we will discuss an important term not only in this chapter but also in our daily lives. The term is electronic commerce, and I am sure many of you know about it due to it having a major impact on all of your lives. Most of us know this term from a short abbreviation e-commerce. What is electronic commerce, if one might ask? It is basically when there is a transaction done online by a computer from someone or a store selling products online or a business buying things online from another business. An example would be buying a video game off of Amazon or Best Buy's website instead of going outside to buy it from a retail store, as it saves the hassle of going out. Electronic commerce has made shopping very easy and simple from just staying at home and using a device at your fingertips. Electronic commerce applies to both physical and virtual goods, and the norm for all major businesses and industries to use in today's world in selling their merchandise is having electronic commerce, as this is due to the importance of e-commerce in any business or industry due to it having an influence on how it's affected by new media. Next, we will discuss about electronic transactions and its specific features. Electronic transactions is a major part of electronic commerce dealing with the process of transactions when a consumer or business buys something online. An example of this would be buying a book online, but the book is an e-book, which is considered a digital version. The difference between this and a regular e-commerce purchase is that the digital copy makes all the processes 100% fully digital, as the final product is being delivered through a physical transportation system online than a physical package arriving from the post office. There are multiple degrees of both physical and electronic commerce in transactions. Here are the 5 specific features of electronic transactions listed on the slide. Next, we will discuss about digital goods and its characteristics. Digital goods are basically items that can be digitized and sold through electronic networks such as books, music, or movies. These goods are non-rivalrous, innately, and perfectly copyable, and can exist in many places at once, and can also easily be recombined from the new digital goods. Digital goods also have 5 specific characteristics. They are non-rivalrous, infinitely expansible, discrete, aspatial, and recombinant. Non-rivalrous is basically when one agent doesn't degrade the usefulness of the digital good to other agents. Infinitely expansible is when all the users can create or give any number of copies they want of the digital good. Discrete is when there is invisibility shown, so that way only the entire digital good has all the value. Aspatial is when the digital good exists in cyberspace and both everywhere and also nowhere online. Finally, recombinant is when the digital good is created from drawing existing elements but improving them with new forms and features that were not on the original digital goods.
Moving along from Amir, I will be discussing the ways in which the economy is being flooded with an immense amount of information, but how the industry is gradually progressing to a creative one. To better understand this concept, we must be able to distinguish the differences in which information is being broadcasted to us, the role it has within the 21st century, and question the idea of having too much information. From the chapter, we can see that Lees categorizes information into three aspects, which is misinformation, disinformation, and an excessive amount of information. I'm sure most of you are knowledgeable on these distinctions, but the key factor to remember is how do we categorize information that we are getting? The answer is to better educate ourselves on the information we search. So, for example, the hundreds of Google results that may be wrong or even misleading to us. Understanding the different types of information, let's dive a little bit deeper into the types of knowledge that is being broadcasted within this information. So let's not only analyze the economy, but the knowledge that is coming from our economy. This is where we have Jacob Levy, who talks about the idea of the 21st century and the movements of perpetuating false information and beyond truth. So pretty much bullshitting certain ideologies that may not be true by people who are in positions of power. This information can be perpetuated into two forms of knowledge, which is explicit and tacit. The distinction between these two is that explicit talks about things that are codified, where tacit knowledge is more about an intuitive and experienced knowledge. So, how can you take this further and even understand why this may be important to the knowledge economy and the studies behind this? The reason that is so important is because the different ways in which knowledge is created, like stated here as incremental knowledge, is that this information is embodied into organizations and therefore reinforced into the public. So, it's important to understand to take control and educate yourself over the knowledge that is being perpetuated towards you. Obviously, not all knowledge is embodied into organizations, something known as radical knowledge, and this is knowledge that is based on experimentation. Now that we have some sort of vocabulary and some definitions, and we got our brains going on in this direction of thought process, let's get into some theories that arise from this chapter that are quite significant. Clayton Christensen's innovator's dilemma exists because of how new technologies emerging into the economy are oftentimes disrupted. Now, it's difficult to understand right off the bat, but these two figures really help distinguish the ways in which new products and softwares that emerge into the economy all undergo the same difficulty. So in figure 1, here we can see something called the S-curve. And the reason that it takes this curve is because oftentimes when a new product or software enters the market, it's usually with bugs and is still taking time to develop into the mass market. So for example, the television is at a mature technology stage, but wireless is still in its developing stages. Now, I don't want to confuse you guys with too much theory-based content, but a major aspect in Figure 2 is the idea of the ways in which new technology merges into an economy and the knowledge and the information that follows this. We can exemplify this graph with a hard drive. As building blocks of the new media industry, the hard drive became smaller, faster, and cheaper, and certain technologies began to only specialize in certain fields that only specialized users are able to use. So the main point that you can take from this graph is that successors of hard drives had the dilemma of emerging with new technologies for users or sticking with their old products with mini computers for businesses. Now that we got the definitions down about knowledge and information and the theories of this, let's apply it to the ways in which the economy is beginning to shift because of the new emergence of knowledge. The consistent development of products and technology are being demanded from customers, so they start to become user-oriented and centered rather than lead user innovation. As Eric von Hippel states, there are those who identify a need before it exists in the market, but users are no longer a source of ideas, but engaged in design and creation themselves. The reason that this is so crucial and important to understand within this unit is because it demonstrates the way in which the economy is now shifting from a marketplace where organizations create products and technologies, but now the users are in charge of helping with that step-by-step software process. This agile process helps the development to become incrementally based rather than jumping to the end of the project. It also indicates how the knowledge economy is now being based on user information. So now that we're beginning to see that everything is becoming interconnected, we can discuss the ways in which a new emergence of creative economy could actually be a possibility within the 21st century and ways in which it's already taken place. John Hopkins talks about the creative economy and how information is losing its imagination, but I would challenge this by discussing the ways in which small businesses, local artists, and subcultured products are actually innovating at a pace that larger organizations can't keep up with. The only ways in which a creative economy can actually be taken into full effect is a shift of creativity and culture becoming a part of the organization's dynamic. It is very difficult to innovate products and technology and user-based innovation on a yearly basis just because of the fast turnover rate that would need to be done and the problematic theory that we discussed earlier known as the innovator's dilemma. The emergence of new products is very difficult in markets, and having to face with new bugs and errors every single time is a difficult process to encounter, not to mention the financial instability. We can discuss the ways in which a creative economy can be taken into place. There are practical measures that someone like Janet Murray discusses about the ideas in which constant creativity and exploration is a means to an end for certain products and technologies like video games and virtual reality. The ways in which we can shift to creative economy is from what I discussed earlier about shifting the institutional and political frameworks of new growth and encouraging entrepreneurship rather than larger organizations. Also influencing and promoting ICT development. And like I mentioned before, culture is a huge factor in the ways information is broadcasted and which information is seen valuable to certain economies. To end off this presentation with a couple final thoughts, I know it was a lot of definitions as well as some theory, but we can apply and learn to understand that the information that is being broadcasted and the knowledge that is being adopted into our economy will always need a sense of skill and education in order to innovate. The importance is because we have an incentivized economy that utilizes information to create products and new technologies so that we can further more of our knowledge. This cyclical process allows the growth and development of the overall knowledge economy and will continue past the 21st century. So let's keep learning, growing, and don't forget to fact check every time you do that Google search. Thank you for listening to mine and Amir's presentation. I hope the notes included with this presentation would be a thorough exploration of the importance of knowledge and information within the economy.